Have you ever been working on a melody idea, and no matter how many different sounds and layers you added, it never quite sounded finished? That's because you're missing a special type of sound that is essential in almost every genre of music. It's called texture, the glue that holds your different sounds together and fills in any space left behind. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to create and use texture in your samples to help you level up. This is a sample I made like a week or two ago, and it's one of my absolute favorites. And just by listening to it, you can already hear the texture that I'm talking about. But let me show you the difference it makes when I remove that from the sample. The texture mainly comes from this chord progression up here. If I mute that and just play it with a piano instead, I've not done anything to that piano. It's just a standard grand piano sound, and even if I put the reverbs on it and everything else that you would expect, it's still going to sound empty because it just doesn't have that texture. It's a very flat, plain sound. If I had started with that piano, then I would have found myself adding and adding and adding sounds unnecessarily to this to fill in those gaps that the piano is leaving behind, and it would actually make the sample worse. What I'm saying to you is, don't let it get to that point. Just add texture to your samples. If I just play the chords by themselves, I mean, listen to that. You can hear how it's got all of this amazing texture kind of baked into it. If you're not utilizing texture in your samples, then I can guarantee you that you're doing it wrong. And in today's video, I'm going to help you fix that. So let's get straight into it. So before we start using and creating the texture, let's first establish all the different types of texture that you can add to your samples. The first one is organic texture. Next, you've got analog texture. And what about granular texture? And then finally, we've got Foley. So now that we have established what different textures we can use, let's now look at plugins that can get us those textural sounds. The first one is Luma. This has a whole library of different textures which can be mixed in with more typical analog and acoustic sounds. If you pay attention to these two windows here, the basic sound and the texture layer, depending on where this XY pad is, you can see this getting brighter and this getting darker. So if I have it all the way at the top left here, I'm basically only getting texture. And if I have it all the way at the bottom right, I'm getting more basic sound. You can hear how we can mix it in like that. Not only does this plugin present the sound sources we need, but also houses the built-in effects to manipulate them in unique ways. Let's play a chord. Wow. Introduce some sample degradation, some drift. You see how much texture this sound has now. So if you're looking for a plugin that can combine usable, interesting sounds with texture and give you all the controls to manipulate it in a crazy way, then Luma is definitely one of the best out there for sure. Next up, we have Pigments. We have access to a complete granular engine inside the VST. And that's just with a simple basic piano. But if we go inside of something like multi-pedals, the best thing about these presets though is that a lot of them already have texture baked into them as they were made with real synths and pedals. So if we just open up the background texture preset on its own, you can see the granular window is completely disabled. There's no granularness, there's nothing on engine 2. And this is just one of over 150 presets in this bundle, and they also work in Analog Lab. So if you're interested in that, then click the link below, check out multi-pedals. Next up, we have Solstice. Just drag that, drop it into here. Solstice has analyzed it and broken it up into these textures here. We've got all these built-in controls like reverb and filter and envelope. So let's say, for instance, this was your sample. If we put Solstice on channel 2, record it. If we take that texture we've just added, copy it across, maybe change the key of it all. Let's go down 4. That instantly sounds like more of a finished sample with just that simple change. It kind of tricks the ear into thinking, oh, this is done. Solstice is a great plugin for sure. You guys should definitely check that out if you want to add some real crazy textures to your melodies. So for analog textures, there are numerous crazy effect plugins that can create those for you. Let's look at the rotary speaker, for instance. You've also got analog machines, the Struder tape recorder, you got the Galaxy Tape Echo as well. You could easily create texture with that if you just bounced out the different delays. Another set of plugins which I think are really cool for making texture is the Pedal series by Haze, specifically Volume 2. Check this one out here. Instantly, that's the texture now. Got Mod 8 here as well. Turn up this texturize knob. Instantly another texture there. This is quite similar to the Mood pedal from Chase Bliss, which is one of my favorites. So some final pieces of advice for creating texture is to definitely get used to working in audio exclusively, not MIDI. MIDI is really good for the beginning of a process, obviously. At the end of your sample, if you still are playing from MIDI, I feel like you're missing out on a lot of different techniques that you just can't do with MIDI. You know, there's so much you can do with audio to extract and highlight that texture. For instance, stretching, pitching, downsampling, reversing, chopping. So definitely experiment with that. That's something I do all the time in my samples. So the time has come to try and make ourselves a sample now with all of the different textural tips and tricks kind of thrown in there and demonstrated for you live. Perfect. Should we keep going or just leave it like that? I don't know. Right, let's make this sound more textural then. So, go into Solstice, drag it in. Let's try and record this. I think it was nice here. Yeah. Just copy that over. It's nice in that space there as well. Let's pitch this down. Oh! Sounds so good. That's crazy. Okay, let's keep going with this then. We're at B minor now. Let's go into pigments. Grab ourselves something textural sounding from here, which is pretty much the specialty of this bank. Ooh, some nice textures in that. Let's chuck a shaper box on this to make it sound a bit more textural. First things first, I'm going to pan it. Do a filter as well. You only really want high end. I want to go ahead and add some just textures just to drag in, just to beef it up a little bit more. Alright, nice. Let's do some kind of drum element now and turn that into a texture as well. That'd be crazy. Let's record this in. Got Got a nice little drum texture here coming. One plugin that's really good for this is actually Sound City Studios from UAD. This is the first thing I'll put on them, just to really push them into the background of the room. If we do EFX fragments, that's cool. We can chop that up. We can do something with that for sure. Let's chop this. Let's try and find a cool sound here that goes with this. This texture hunter preset is really cool for texture, obviously. Stamp it to audio. Let's put a big space echo delay on this sound here. This will be really cool. Let's do a lead guitar on this as well. Chuck some of these textures on maybe. Nice. We just played this stuff on its own. Sounds very empty. Now all this. We'll see if we can add some effects to that. So let's go for EFX fragments again. That's actually crazy. Let's record that. See if we can chop any of that out and put it on top of our current sample to just spice it up a little bit more. What's that? That little kind of like that. Oh. That makes such a big difference. That's crazy. I want to do another one of those for the second half. Those are some really interesting little textures there, which I really like. That was long, but definitely worth it. It's giving me that Tame Impala vibes. I really want a vocal on this. I think that's the only thing that's missing. So let's go on a splice, because I can't sing. Let's make this more textural now. Oh, I like that. Let's bounce that as one. We'll put some final master effects on this and we're pretty much done. Oof. These are basically the only instruments we've got in the entire sample. You've got the chords, lead guitar, little lead thing here from Luma, and then the bass guitar. That's it. Everything else in this is just pure texture. We've got like 4 different textures here. Sounds like a train. More like a vocal one. Some sort of like analog one there. Another analog one there. Little weird melody chop there. We've got a drum break type thing, which sounds sick. Got this. Little multi-pedals thing here. We got this. It's just like a little texture. I don't even know how to describe that. Some weird ones down here. Chopped up granular ones. And the vocal. But yeah, when you combine that with some decent melodies, you just get this luscious piece of textural goodness. Bro, that sounded crazy. Try and pour as much texture into this shit as you can, because in the end, the final result speaks for itself and it always sounds better. And, you know, with this sample, if I just play it by itself like this, just the instruments. Like, it's cool, but definitely missing that character compared to this. Oh. It sounds so much better. So yeah, bear that in mind. And yeah, I hope you guys learned something today. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're not already. If you want to get some of the sounds we used for this beat, then hit the link down below. We're actually running a crazy Black Friday sale for the next week or so, so definitely check that out. All the kits are stupid cheap right now, so now's the time to get some stuff to level up your sounds. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.